Hi, this is Mr. Snyder at Truman Middle School, and today's lesson is finding numbers. If you recall, yesterday when we were finding percents, we had two different methods. We had the proportion method and also the equation method. So let's review how those worked. With the proportion method, you would find your percent, the number that has the percent sign, and put that over 100, because percent does mean per 100. And then you would find your part and your whole, which are more easily identified if you just look for the number that is stuck to the is and the number that is stuck to the of. That always helps me to figure out which goes where in the fraction, because that's generally the most complicated part of this. Once you have your ratio set up, you would simply cross multiply by setting the two ratios equal to each other and then performing shoestrings or cross products. After you have multiplied each side out, you would divide by the number stuck to the variable to get the letter by itself, because whenever you're solving equations, the object is to always get the variable by itself. So let's do an example. So first of all, I need to find my percent, the one that has the percent symbol, which is easy to find. It's 60, and since it is a percent, it always goes over 100. On the other side, I need to find my is number, the number that is stuck to the is, which looks like it will be 64. My of number looks like we don't know it. It says of what number, so that should clue me to put a variable there. So now I have my proportion set up and I can perform shoestrings. So we multiply 60 times n, we get 60n. On the other side, we get 64 times 100, which is 6400. So at this point, we have an equation, a one-step equation that we can solve. So I need to divide each side by the number stuck to the variable, which in this case is going to be 60. So I divide each side by 60. And my 60s cancel out on the left, leaving me with my variable. And then I do 6400 divided by 60, which after I punch it into my calculator will be 106.6 repeating. And if my instructor told me to round that, I could round it to the appropriate digit. Otherwise, I'll just use my repeating decimal symbol. So the answer is 106.6, and I just asked myself, does my answer make sense? Is it possible that 60% of 106 would be 64? And to me, the answer does seem logical, so I think we're good with that one. The equation method was simply turning the words into math. And it always helps to circle your words like is and of, and then to box what you're looking for, the missing part, which is usually the what in your problem. So the first thing I want to do is circle my is and of. So here's my is, here is my of, and then here's my what, so I'll box that in. And these are the things that I'm going to turn into letters or symbols. So I simply rewrite the problem. 220, and remember is means equals 25%, but I can't just write 25%, I need to turn that to a decimal, so I will write 0.25. Of means times, and then what number would be my variable. So, just multiplying this out and cleaning it up a little bit, I have 220 equals 0.25 n. And as always, in order to get rid of the number stuck to the variable, I divide by that number. And my 0.25s or 2500ths cancel out. So I simply do 220 divided by 0.25, and I will find out that my n is going to equal 880. So I ask myself, does this make sense? Is 25% of 880 going to be 220? And it seems like a reasonable answer, so I circle it and I move on. So let's do some problems together. If you're in your blue packet, we have problems similar to this. So let's go ahead and do the first one using the proportion method. The proportion method means I need to find my percent and simply put that over 100. My percent in this case is going to be 12. So I put that over 100. And then I find my is number. It looks like 60 is, so that will go on top. My of is over here, and it says of what number, so that's my clue to put a variable. So now that I have it set up, I can do shoestrings. 12 times n would be 12n. 60 times 100 would be 6,000. And the last step for this one is to just simply divide each side by 12. So if I do the left side divided by 12, it cancels out. If I do the right side divided by 12, it looks like I will get 500. So n equals 500. And always ask yourself, does it make sense? Would 12% of 500 possibly be 60? And the answer seems logical. So I will circle my answer. So at this point, please pause the video and go ahead and try number 2. And when you're ready to check your answer, hit play again. So on number 2, we find the percent, which is 8%, and put that over 100. We find the is number, so that would be my 23. 23 is, so I would put 23 on the top. My of number, we don't know because it says of what number, so that's going to be my n. I do shoestrings again. 8 times n is 8n. 23 times 100 is going to be 2300. And then the last step is to divide by the number stuck to the variable, which in this case is 8. So I divide by 8 on the left, divide by 8 on the right, and after punching it into a calculator, I will find out that my answer is going to be 287.5. So I ask myself, does my answer make sense? Is 8% of 287.5 possibly 23? It seems likely, so I will go ahead and leave my answer as is. So let's move on to the equation method. If you recall the equation method, you're simply turning the words into math symbols and letters. So let's go ahead and find the important stuff. Let's circle our of, let's circle our is, and let's box in the what. What are we looking for? Because that's going to be our variable. So now we rewrite, and remember you can't have percent sign without turning it into a decimal. So turn your percent to a decimal, which means sweep it 2 to the right. So we get 0.125. Of means multiply. What number would be my variable? Is means equals. And then 50 just drops down. So now I have 0.125n stuck to the variable, so that's what I'll be dividing both sides by. So remember, always divide by the number stuck to the variable. But we're working on the left. So on the left, they cancel to n. On the right, we have 50 divided by 0.25, which is 400. So I ask myself, does my answer make sense? Is 12.5% of 400 possibly going to be 50? I think my answer makes sense. Circle it and move on. Go ahead and pause the video at this point and try your problem. Try this one and then restart the video when you've got done to check your answer. So using the equation method on number 4, we simply circle the is, circle the of, and we box in the what number. So bring down your number. 46 is means equal. Turn your percent to a decimal, so that would be 0.74. Of means times. What number would be my variable? So just cleaning this up a little bit, I get 74 hundredths n on one side and 46 on the other. So now I divide both sides by the number stuck to the variable, which would be 74 hundredths. And good things happen. They cancel, which is what we want. On the left side, we do the same. We divide by 74 hundredths. And I do 46 divided by 74 hundredths. And I get a pretty ugly looking number. It looks like it's going to be 62.162. And that's going to equal my n. Then I ask myself, is it possible that 74% of 62.162, this repeats by the way, is it possible that 74% of this number would be 46? Well, yeah, because 74% means about 3/4, and 3/4 of 62 would probably be close to 46, so my answer makes sense. So let's try the word problems. The most important thing with word problem is kind of just condensing the information and figuring out what are they really asking. So Tom earned 80% on the test by answering 20 questions correctly. If each question was worth the same amount, how many questions were on the test? So to me, sorry about that. To me, that really means 20 is 80% of what number? Not sure why my keystrokes are disappearing, but 20 is 80% of what number? So I like the equation method, so we'll go ahead and do it. The equation method. There's my is, here's my of, and here's my question, my what I'm looking for. So let's rewrite. 20 is means equals. Turn your percent into a decimal, so 0.80. Of means multiplication, and what number means variable. So cleaning this up a little bit, I have 20 equals 80 hundredths in, or 0.80 in. And now, since I have a number stuck to the variable, to finish this, I would divide by that number. So divide each side by 0.80. These cancel out, and 20 divided by 0.80 is going to be 25. So I get n equals 25, and I ask myself, does it make sense? Does answering 20 out of 25 questions equate to an 80% on a test? And I think my answer seems logical, so we'll go with it. Let's go ahead and pause and try the last one by yourselves. All right, the last one. When Brad was 12, he weighed approximately 85% of the weight he is now. If Brad was 120 pounds, how heavy is he now to the nearest tenth? So when Brad was 12, he is 85% of the weight he is now. So you're really asking 120 pounds is 85% of what number? That's really the question they're asking right here. So let's turn the words into math. There's my is, there's my of, here's my variable that I'm looking for, and let's rewrite. So we have 120 is means equals, turn your percent to a decimal, of means times, what number means variable, clean it up a little bit, so you have 85 hundredths in on one side, you have 120 on the other side. Now divide by the number stuck to the variable, which is 85 hundredths, and you'll get your n isolated on the right, and then you have 120 divided by 85 hundredths, which ends up being 141. They told me to round to the nearest tenth of a pound, so I'm going to round to one digit. Since I had 141.17, that means I'm going to round it to 141.2. So my answer would be 141.2 pounds. And I ask myself, does that make sense? So when Brad was 12, he weighed 85% of what he weighs now. So when he was 12, he weighed 120. Is it possible he weighs 141 now? I think so, so I think we're good.